Welcome to the Tax Talk, where we break down tax administration in Lagos State and connect policy to everyday realities for residents, employers, and business owners. My name is Titilayo Oyinson, and on this show, we move beyond the headlines to understand how systems actually function. We simplify the systems that sustain governance and public confidence. We begin this show today with business news. Stay with us.
This is business news. The Lagos State government has reaffirmed its commitment to supporting small businesses and entrepreneurs through the Micro Enterprise Support Initiative, known as MESI, M-E-S-I. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu says the program provides traders, artisans, and young entrepreneurs with essential working tools, including sewing machines, catering equipment, deep freezers, photography kits, and agricultural processing machines to help them build sustainable businesses and achieve financial independence. Emphasizing his belief that when the people succeed, Lagos succeeds, Sanwo-Olu noted that supporting small businesses and young entrepreneurs remains a key part of his administration's Themes Plus agenda. According to the governor, the program has empowered about 40,000 residents with the equipment they need to grow their businesses and improve their livelihoods. He urged beneficiaries to make the most of the opportunity by growing their businesses, supporting their families, creating jobs, and contributing to the continued economic growth of Lagos State. And that's it on Business News.
Welcome back. Corporate Talk is where we sit with the officials responsible for administering and enforcing tax laws in Lagos State, helping us understand how compliance is monitored and maintained. Today, we turn our focus to tax audit, an area that often raises questions and sometimes concerns, especially among taxpayers. Joining me is Mr. Foluso Mustapha, Director of the Tax Audit Unit at the Lagos State Internal Revenue Service. Welcome to the show, sir. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
So this particular conversation is one many businesses will find particularly important. Are you ready to begin?
Yeah.
All right. So let's start with how critical tax registration actually is. How critical is it to the integrity of the tax system? And maybe you could explain some of the legal consequences for failure to register.
Okay, that's a very good question. Of course, registration is the bedrock of any efficient tax system. Because if you look at the new law, it talks about the objective of that law is facilitate compliance. And compliance has 3 levels: registration, filing, and payment. So registration is the bedrock of any very efficient tax system. And of course, apart from increasing the tax base, it also supports tax authorities to know who should pay tax, who is evading tax, and of course, to know the number of tax debts that are outstanding. Okay. Under the law, registration is under section 4 to 6, which provide that every taxable person is expected to register and obtain a tax ID,
Okay.
including self-employed employees and, of course, MDAs, ministries, departments, and agencies of government, and at local government level. It also says that, non-resident person that derives income from Nigeria are expected to register.
Interesting.
And, of course,
So those in the diaspora is?
yeah, if you are non-resident, you expect, and you're earning income from Nigeria. But if you're earning passive income, like rent, investment income, you are not expected to register.
Okay.
But if you are doing any business in Nigeria or earning a form of income as a non-resident, you expect to register and obtain a tax ID.
Okay.
Currently, the NIN, the National Identification Number, is your unique identifier, which is common to everybody. And there is a single unified identifier for tax identification registration on the GRB portal, Joint Revenue Board portal. So that is about registration.
Sure.
For the consequences, Section 100 of the law provides failure to register penalties, which is 50,000 the first month and 25,000 for subsequent months.
Okay.
Also, that same section provides that where any statutory body or corporate gives contract to anybody without a TIN number, you'll be penalized for 5 million naira.
Wow.
So I think under the withholding tax regulation, you also have some consequences. Small businesses under that regulation are exempted from tax, from withholding tax. But if they do not have a TIN number, they will not enjoy that exemption.
Okay. Can we touch on that exemption a little bit more?
Yeah.
What does that actually mean?
Okay. Small businesses in Nigeria are businesses with a threshold of 100 million and below, according to the NTAA. But the regulation, the withholding regulation was made when the threshold was 25 million. But now there's an exemption for small businesses that you cannot deduct withholding tax from small business transactions. Small businesses like the traders, the self-employed, that are transacting, within that band.
Sure.
But they're also expected to register, despite the fact that they're exempted.
So it's about the registration. It's about declaring.
Yes. Registration for them is important so that they can enjoy the exemption benefits. So, but if they don't register or they don't have a TIN number, they will not enjoy that exemption.
Okay.
That's the consequence there. Going further, I think that regulation also says that if anybody is being paid or is engaged in any eligible transaction and the person does not have a TIN number, you are going to suffer twice the rate of the withholding tax.
Okay, so
twice the rate. So if you are making supplies or you are receiving a form of business contract and the contractor is expected to deduct withholding tax and you don't have a TIN number, it will deduct double the rate.
Okay.
Rather than if assuming the rate is 10%, it will now be 20% because you don't have a TIN number.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So there are benefits to having the proper registration and then, of course, consequences. And I'm beginning to understand why you are the auditor in charge. You have your ducks in a row with regards to this conversation, but I would love to talk a little bit about the taxpayers and how they are given specific timelines, specified timelines. So I don't know whether it's a question of fairness, but how has the introduction of e-filing actually improved adherence to these rules?
Well, you cannot file online without a TIN number.
Okay.
You cannot file because you have to log into the LRS portal with your TIN number, with your tax identification. So that is first level. Then subsequently you input all your income that you have derived. Then you generate your tax automatically on the system. So, but if you don't have a TIN number or the authority did not issue you a tax ID, then you cannot file online. You cannot file through the e-tax platform.
So I think I should give the viewers the opportunity to understand what the TIN number is exactly and how it's different from the NIN.
Okay, like I mentioned earlier, NIN is a simple, unified identifier. Everybody has an NIN in Nigeria. And in order to harmonize different tax IDs that's been issued by different governments, different states, different state inland revenue service, the JRB, Joint Revenue Board, came up with the use of NIN as a identifier for you to register and obtain a tax ID. So that's the only single identifier that is required for you to generate a tax ID.
I have to ask if the TIN number is relevant in any other use cases apart from registration online.
Well, TIN number is expected to be disclosed on transactions.
Okay.
Transactions with any tax authority. TIN number is expected to be disclosed in your returns, in your document, in any contract that you're having with another party. You're supposed to disclose your TIN number.
Okay.
So that TIN number, of course, is needed to monitor and to make your transactions visible to the tax authorities.
So, but beyond registration now, let's go a little further than that. You did mention that there were different stages. After that, it's about actually payment. You know, payment is considered the ultimate test of compliance. So let's talk about how tax payment is being regulated, but then with what sort of enforcement mechanisms? What exactly exists, especially when taxes are unpaid?
Okay, that's an interesting question. Section 49 provides for payment of taxes. And of course, what that section says is whether you are liable to tax or not, you are expected to file. And of course, payment of tax will be in one lump sum or in installments. You can either pay one lump sum or request for installment payment.
So that installment payment is very interesting to my ears, and I have a feeling the viewers are interested in that as well. Can you break that down?
You have to apply for it in writing.
Okay.
On or before the due date of filing.
But not after?
Not after. Because even the final installment has to be paid on the due date of filing.
Okay.
So that means you must file your return before the due date of filing, and you can request for installment payment. And that's installment payments, you know, you must close the final payment on the due date of filing.
Are there added consequences should you fail to make the
Of course,
payment?
it will attract penalties and interest.
Interesting.
So it will attract penalties and interest from the due date of filing and payment. Yes.
Okay. So I've heard quite a few times, you know, there have been questions about what sort of provisions have been put in place to empower tax authorities to carry out these audits, you know, especially under this new tax reform framework. So let's look into that.
Section 57 provides the tax authorities the right to verify by audit or investigation into any matter relating to a return or entries in the books or records of a taxpayer. That same section 57 also gives us the power to request the taxpayer to produce documents for examination and to also grant us access into his records, whether stored in digital platforms or not. So that section particularly allows tax authorities to conduct audit and to have access to your records, to your information, and to your computer-based information.
Okay, so I do have a feeling that that word access has its limitations to a certain extent. What sort of access would you really be requesting?
Well, we are expected to give you a notice, and that notice is for us to have access to all your records, anything that relates to your tax payment. Because you have filed your return, I will need to investigate whether you have filed appropriately or you have filed completed return. So that's the essence of requesting for access to your system. Like you mentioned earlier, that everybody is in digital age. Transactions are processed through computer systems, cloud-based technologies. So we need to request access to them, and so that we can conduct the audit.
All right. So I would love for us to continue this conversation. We have quite a bit more to still discuss, but at this point, we need to take a short break. When we return, we'll continue with our conversation. We're going to talk a little bit about enforcement powers, transparency safeguards, and of course, how taxpayer rights are protected within the audit process. Stay with us.
Have you had a hard time with taxes and understanding tax administration in Lagos State and the complex nature of Nigerian tax law? Do you know what agency or tier of government collects the various types of taxes? Have you ever found yourself asking any of these questions? Join us for your favorite program, The Tax Talk, your infotainment program.
Welcome back. We're having a very interesting conversation with Mr. Mustapha. And I have to thank you once again for being here. There was something you mentioned with regards filing. I would love for us to go over that again. But for those that don't understand, the term TIN actually means tax identification number. So once you've had your registration done with your tax identification number, then the next step is filing. Could you take us through that process?
Okay, I think you register with your NIN,
Okay.
National Identification Number,
Okay.
to generate a tax ID.
Okay.
So, and that tax ID is called Tax Identification Number.
Okay. Fantastic.
So that clears that. On filing, of course, now it is the Nigerian Tax Administration Act now supports digital filing through digital platforms. Section 71 talks about deployment of technology for tax administration, which includes filing and payment processing. Under Section 13, which talks about every taxable person is expected to file a return with the relevant tax authority in the prescribed form, whether you are liable to tax or not. You know, there are some exemptions. If you are earning less than 800,000, you are not expected to pay tax. But it doesn't preclude you from filing tax.
Is that 800,000 per annum?
Yeah, per annum.
Okay,
Per
fantastic.
annum. So that 800,000 per annum. So you're expected to file whether you are liable to pay tax or not. That's standard. Then we now have Section 14, which talks about the pay as you earn system, where employers employ people and they pay them salaries and remuneration. That section provides for a dual reporting obligation for employees. Because every 31st of January of each year, an employer is expected to submit a return to the tax authority detailing all the emoluments paid to the employees in the preceding year and, make sure that all the deductions equals the tax liabilities that were remitted.
Okay.
That return is a responsibility on the employer. Section 14.3, which now puts a dual reporting obligation on the employee, requires the employee to independently file a return of all income from all sources, including employment income. So that shows that even if you are employed and you also have a business on the side, you're expected to file your own return independently of what your employer is filing.
Okay.
So that is where the dual reporting responsibility exists for employees. And it's a way to create accountability within the payee administration system for everybody that is engaged in employment and also having a side hustle to support.
And it does feel like almost everybody has something they're doing on the side. So whether it's up to the 800,000 per annum is now the question, whether it equates to that amount. And
well, 800,000 from the rate band, 800,000 is the general exemption.
Okay.
For 0%, the general exemption for 0%. So, of course, you're exempted for paying tax, but I believe you are not exempt for filing.
You're still watching The Tax Talk. You can follow us across social media platforms using the handles displayed on screen during the course of the show. Also, don't be shy to subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you can re-watch this episode and past ones online at your convenience. Tax compliance translates into visible development across Lagos State. Now, in this next segment, we highlight projects funded through taxpayer contributions. Up next, Tax Did It.
A hand that lifts another today has the power to build generations tomorrow. That is the true essence of empowerment. Till date, over 35,101 residents have graduated from our tuition-free skills acquisition center, while 18,990 beneficiaries have received business startup equipment.
Today is another reminder that empowerment is more than just giving financial assistance. It is about equipping people with the right skills.
Manage your resources wisely, remain disciplined and committed to excellence.
So you are the real deal. You are the reason why we're here. We're improving life, we're creating opportunity, and we're empowering our people to achieve their full potential. In about 7 years, we've empowered almost 20,000 and we've trained almost 40,000 people. Today, about 3,800 beneficiaries are receiving tools of work. We continue to invest in our people